Hi, Susan. Okay, this is part two of our video. I read your email from over the weekend and I understand why you were confused. So basically, anytime on this screen listing, you see we're showing screens and we are showing only the active trading screens. In other words, on behalf of me, signed in as me, you should click on active trading. You will see about 16 screens, but only about 8 of them are what I consider to be live screens, and they always will be the ones with the most recent date, but it will not necessarily always be the yesterday's date. Sometimes I get busy, so I only update some of the 8. But the point is, it'll always be the same 8 that you're interested in. It will always be this group that includes the keywords 25 base, earnings surprises, overweight 6, 50 base new vol, 50 base 0.25, basic growth, Bumpus rank, and overweight 5. And they will always be in last run order, or if they're not, you just click on last run to make sure that they are in last run order with the most recent on top. And you always want to do these 8. They will almost always be the 8 most recent, but as I say, they may not all have the same date, and that date may not always be the most recent trading date. That just depends on how busy I was. But what you want to do is you want to start from the one that was last run of the 8 the least recently. In other words, you don't want to take the one that'll be back a few weeks or even months, like Delaware. Right now, Delaware is the one that was run most recently that is not part of the top 8. You want to start with the one right above Delaware, because that's the one that's was last run longest ago among the top 8. So basically the idea is you're going to be running the top 8 pretty much regardless of how recently they were run, though that should not be more than a few trading days ago, at least if I'm the one who's been doing the running as opposed to you. Once you take this over, if we get that far, then obviously these last run dates will reflect when you last did it. Okay, so we're now going to take, just kind of at random, the lowest one here, meaning the one that was run the longest ago of the top 8. And notice you can't see the time, you can only see the day. But you can rely on this order being actually time sensitive within the day. In other words, you can rely on the fact that because 25 base is listed below earnings surprises, that even though both were run on the 22nd, 25 base was run longer ago, i.e. Earlier in the day on the 22nd. So you're just going to go from the bottom up to the top, and I'm going to show you how to do 1 or 2 specimen ones, and the rest of it I think you can figure out. I may not, during this recording, be able to show you everything that you'll need to do in terms of data storage and placement, but some of those things will work out later. For now, you want to create the file, and then we'll worry about how you store it and process it. So let's run 25 base. So this so far is kind of a repeat of what you would have done before. Again, we clear the results, we run the screen, we expand the results, we click on the icon, and we get this spreadsheet logo here. Let me be sure I move this up to where you see it. So now we're going to open this P123 file by double clicking on it, and it's going to come up as a file. Now there's going to be part of this that you may not see So just try to imagine as best you can, because parts of it are below the cutoff of my recording device. In any event, I'm going to answer yes here, even though the file format and extension don't match. I want to go ahead, so I get this printout, this spreadsheet, and I'm going to widen column A so I can read the date, and I want to be sure that that is today's date, which it is right here, and I always want to be sure that I memorize this information here, which is repeated up here, so I'll know that this is indeed 25 base position. That's the screen that I've run. Now, I am going to pick a template for this, and I'm going to move the today's information into the template. So the templates I have put on my own system, and I will help you put on your system in a file which we will call 928. Just as a matter of practice, I have placed one or more copies of the templates for each of the 8 types of screens in the September 28th trading directory, and on your system I will help you create a 928.16 trading directory too, but for now why don't you just create that somewhere on your system so you can practice with it. So if you remember, the one we're working on now is 25 base, so you will pick one of the templates in the 928 directory for the 25 base. Generally I'll pick the most recent, but what I intend to do when I help you set up your special 928 template directory is to have only one for each of the 8 screens, so there won't be confusion. But for now we're going to take the 25 base that was done for the 11/11 trading date. So now this one is the template. It's correctly formatted, but it has obsolete data in it. So the first thing we're going to do, you see that it'll come up typically with the actual data parts in selected, i.e. in the dark gray type. So since those are already selected, we can delete the content, and that's what we want to do. So I'm going to press the Del key on the numeric keypad, and that wiped out all the content because we want it to be blank. Then the next thing we'll do is we'll change it to today's date. What we're interested in is ending up with a report for today, 12/27, so I substituted the date here. The next thing I'll do is to change the name and the location. So this is the file as I took the template version of it. I'm going to copy it temporarily so that I can get that file name and work with the correct directory. Then I will have created already a directory with today's date, and that will always be underneath high performance screen stats, and I'll help you create that on your system. But for now, again, just put it in the same directory where you've placed the 928 template directory. You should have created a directory with today's date, 12/27. So let's go to that directory as I created it. Let's, for now, ignore what's already there. That's a different kind of screen which we'll ignore. So what I want to do is, remember, I saved the file name of the template. Let's be sure I put that there. So we've got something with the correct style of the name, but I have to change 2 things. I have to change the time. So I'm going to put today's time, which is 1:13 p.m., and I'll set this for AM or PM as the case will be. And I can't remember whether you're in my time zone, but I would like everything in Eastern time, please. and then I'm going to adjust the date. So the date is 12/27, so I'm going to change that. And it's a good idea to kind of store a copy of that just in case something goes wrong. And now I'm ready to save this correctly named file, even though it's still the template file and it's empty of contents. I'm going to save it in my today's directory, the 12/27 directory. So I'm going to click Save. Whoops, it's telling me I made a mistake. File name is not valid, and there's almost always one and only one cause for that, which is that I used a hyphen, which I shouldn't use. The correct way to do it is for a file name is without the hyphen, the colon. So I should have said 113 with no colon. I've changed it now. Let me actually remake my copy just to have it once again. And now I think when I save it, it's going to save properly. Yes, it does seem to have saved properly. I can check that by looking up here, and I see 113 on 12/27. So far, so good. Now, the way I do things, it's just my own choice, but I think it's a pretty good standardized way, is I do everything to prepare the template. I make all adjustments to the name, the time, I remove the old data. I do everything before I bring in the new contents. So one thing I have to do to prepare the template, really the last thing I have to do is some page layout stuff. So I go to the page layout tab. I make sure that the print boxes are clicked, which I think they will be because you're going to be using my template, and I think that'll carry over. Now I go to sheet options, and here what I'm going to need to do is to change the header. That's actually the only thing I'll need to do. So then I'll click custom header, and so what I've got here is the identification, the title that was used in the template, and I have to bring that up to date for what I have right now. I want to pick the same time as I did before, even though it might be a couple minutes later, because I want this to match with the file name. So my file name says 113 on top, so I'm going to make this 113, and unlike in the file name, in this header I am allowed to use a colon, so I'm going to do so. So that reads 113 p.m. And then again I'm going to change the date. It's now going to be 12/27, so that when I read this report or somebody else reads it, the head will be correct. So I say OK, and I say OK. Now I've prepared everything to receive the contents of today's file. So I'm going to switch for now to the file that was produced from P123, Portfolio 123. I'm going to click on the top, the first of the tickers, not on the line that says ticker, just the first actual ticker. Then I'm going to press the Shift key and click on the bottom line. By doing that, I select everything from the top to the bottom. Then I'm going to go right-click and copy. You'll see I'll get this green dotted border, which will flash. That indicates that that's my selection. I'll come back to my template that's been nicely prepared. I'll click on the first available line below the ticker row. I will again do right arrow, and now I will do paste, and I'll use the leftmost button there in pasting, which shows I don't want to specify anything special about the format. I just want to take the default. So I've clicked that arrow. Now to turn off the annoying flashing and selection indication here, I'm going to press select. That's going to have also the effect, which I want, of selecting the same contents here in my template. And the reason I want everything selected in the template is that I need to italicize. by ticker. Every single thing you do for me, I'll always want it in ticker alphabetical order, not the order it arrives in, which will typically be rank order. So it's all selected. Now I go to data, then I go to sort, and the default should be what you see here by ticker, but if it's not, you'll make it be that. In other words, you don't need to add any levels. You should get this level, but if you didn't get any level at all, then you'll click on Add Level. But you only want one to sort on. You're going to sort on the ticker column, which should pop up by default, but if it doesn't, let's say it says name, you're going to change it to be the ticker. You're going to sort on the values, and you're going to sort in alphabetical order, i.e. you're going to sort A to Z, which again will probably be the default, but if it's not, if you find it Z to A, then you'll just change it to be A to Z. You'll click OK, and if things are happening correctly, you will see that you've now got it in ticker order, which is exactly what you want. Now click anywhere, and that'll undo the selection. Let's do a save. Let's actually do a save as to make sure everything's happening in the right place. So we're then going to make sure we're in 1227. We're going to make sure that it still says the 1:13 p.m. on 1227, which it does. We're going to try to save. It knows we already made a version with the empty contents, so we do indeed want to replace it. So we're going to say yes. So now we've got our version with all the data in it, today's data. Okay, now to check things, we're going to select, hold on, let me go back and do that again with some explanation. We're going to check File. Then we're going to pick Print. We'll see an example. We're going to see, in other words, the first page. We'll check at top. So we want to make sure that it's got the right name, which is the 25 base. That's the particular screen that we know we're doing. We want to check that it's the correct time, which 1:13 p.m. is correct. We want to check it that it's for the correct day, 1227. And then we want to check the footer here. The footer here is the actual name of the file. And that should set that file name, which will always be the same as the name that's written up there. We want to be sure that that also has today's time and today's date and the correct type of screen, 25 base position. In other words, this should always basically match this for purposes of the name of the screen, 25 base pos, the time, 1:13, and the date, 12/27, 12/27. Once we see that everything's okay, we're then ready to print it using our PDF printer. Until I can get you a copy of 3 Heights PDF, just use the printer that I think you get with Adobe Reader, or else use one of the free PDF print desktop programs that's available on the internet. I'm not sure the name of those, but just do some research for something that will create, or there may even be a default that comes with Excel. But what I use is 3 Heights PDF printer, but you have to pay for that. So I'll get you a copy so we're in sync, but for now just do whatever you have, and I think Adobe PDF may pop up by default with your installation of Excel. If not, as I say, go out and find some PDF printer, but I'm going to stick with mine just because I know it's there and it works. I can't remember. I don't think you'll have to change any of these settings because I think you will pick them up from my template file. But this should say landscape mode. This will say letter, which is the size that I want, and the so-called aspect ratio. Normal margins. I don't think you should have to mess with anything else. You will always want to print all of the pages, so just leave print from there to there blank, and it will print everything, I believe. Print just the active sheets. So we're ready to print. It'll give me save as, or something like that. And if you're using Adobe PDF to print, it'll give you some version of same as. And you want to put that PDF in the same directory. That is, you want to put it in high performance screen stats, and then the subdirectory that has today's date with the word trading, 12/27/16 trading. Again, you just want to take a look that it's got the right name of screen name, 25 base position. It says the 1:13 p.m. and it says 12/27, so you're going to save that. That will then pop up, I believe, in your PDF printer. It certainly pops up in my I can't remember the name, PDF Exchange or whatever PDF printer that I use, and this happens to be a 2-page printout, but sometimes there'll be 4 pages or 6 pages. Mainly what you want to do is to look and you see that the header seems correct as we had it in Excel. The footer at the bottom seems correct. The name of the file up here, which is the file as it exists in the operating system, seems correct, that everything's in order, and that we go from basically the top of the alphabetical listing to the bottom. It's a good idea to make a handwritten note of what the first alphabetically ticker was when you were back at the portfolio 1, 2, 3 level, and the last, so you'll be sure that they all found their way to this printout. And typically you'll find a second set of columns. In other words, the first thing, which may take 1 or more pages, is columns A through something like L. That's mainly what I need, but then there's a second page worth of some other columns. These are repeated. At least column A will be repeated to always give you the ticker name, but this info will be different. Don't spend a lot of time on this. Just make sure that it appears to have printed the entire file. That's really the name of the game, is to create this file, this PDF file, and then I will want you to send me both the PDF that you created as well as the excel.xlxs file. Notice it says xlxsx. That's the version I want. So you'll send me both of those, and you'll send it to me for each of the 8 screens. So now let's quickly do the second one. I'm not even going to really comment very much. I'm just going to give you a second piece of data, so if there's any confusion, you have a second thing to compare it with. And by the way, no need to save this version that is called P123. That's used merchandise that isn't really relevant to us, so select Don't Save. Okay, so now to do the next screen, you're going to go back to the listing of the screens. You're going to click on 1SE Active Trading again. You're going to make sure you're in Active Trading. And now the one you already did is all the way on top because it's now the most recent. And now you go back to the bottom, the one that's above Delaware, i.e. the earliest one that was still within the last few days is going to be earnings surprises, though this particular order may vary. So I'm just going to march right through that. Just the way we did the other one. You'll see it's a lot fewer names. That will always be the case for surprises. There just won't be any. We're going to create our Excel spreadsheet. We're going to click on the spreadsheet. We're going to answer that yes, even though they don't match, this is what we want. We're going to check yes, we got earnings surprises. That's what we want. And we got it with today's date. Now we'll go find our matching template. So our matching template is always going to be in the 928 directory. This is earnings surprises. So here I'll take the most recent of the earnings surprises templates. I'll delete the ones we've already got. I'll change this to today's date of 12/27. I will save it under the correct name. I'll make my little copy here so I don't disturb that by anything I might do inadvertently. I'll be saving this in 12/27. I'm changing the time because it's now 1:28 p.m. and it's 12/27, 12-27 there. I see that it's, whoops, okay, so this is important. I see that I made a mistake. So I'm going to cancel. I made the wrong, I did the wrong naming. This is the naming I want. So I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm actually going to make my copy here at top because that'll be my earnings surprises file name. In other words, the correct name. What I did before, somehow I made a mistake and I lost the correct file name. I'm now going to browse. I'm going to go to 928. I'm again going to check, and yes, I've preserved, whoops, sorry, I don't mean to drive you nuts here, but you will have to learn what I've had to learn, which is how to kind of correct for temporary errors. I don't want to go to the 928 directory. I want to go to today's directory, and I want to be sure that it still says earning surprises, i.e. the correct screen. I'm going to once again correct the time because I lost that in the mistake I made earlier with the file name. If I see it's not right, well, I made my copy. So I'm going to show you. If I saw things were not correct, I'd rely on the copy I just made. I'd paste from my copy buffer. Okay, so once again, I'm going to make the current time now 1:30. I'm going to put in today's date. Again, probably useful to make a copy just in case something seems to go wrong. And now, since I'm in the correct directory, today's directory, I'm going to save it. Again, this is just the empty template I'm saving. I'm going to change my header in the layout as we did before. So once again, it's going to say 1:30 on 12/27. 12-27. Okay, that's all fine. I'm going to fetch my data from the template. See, that's the template. I'm going to go back to my new target. I've inserted the new actual live data into my ready-to-go modified template that has the right name, the right time, and the right date. I'm going to save that again. I'm going to print. I'm going to look at the test printout, check. Yes, the name is right. 1:30 is the correct time. 12/27 is the correct date. The name, the time, and the date are correct in the footer. Once again, I'm ready to print to PDF. So I print to PDF. I get my save as. It gives me the correct name if all has gone well, but with a PDF suffix. And I'm still in today's directory. That's good, so I'm ready to save. And here, this is what my printout looks like. It's much shorter, but that's indeed correct for earnings surprises, which will always be just a few names, very rarely more than 10, and will not have very many columns associated with it because it's based on a different template. So that's pretty much what we would do for the second one. Again, we want to save the XLXS that has the correct name, but we do not need to save the spreadsheet that has P123 because that's now used merchandise. So don't save. This will show any other Excel spreadsheet you happen to have up, so just minimize that, and you're ready to go back and continue your way. You've now done 2 of the 8, so now you're going to pick up with the 3rd one, and you're going to do the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. And when you finished all that, you should have 8 Excel spreadsheets and 8 PDFs, and you will get those to me probably by a Dropbox entry, but in the beginning you should just send me the ones you did. So if you want to test this, wait until after 5 p.m. Eastern today. I will have probably completed all of these, so these will all say 1227, and you'll just run them again. They'll still say 1227, but they'll be in the order in which you then run them after me. So they'll all say 1227, but when you run your first test one, it'll then go to the top, and the one I did most earliest will be at the bottom. So you'll just practice probably on a few of these. You don't need to go through all of them. Just go through a few. For this to work, though, I'm going to have to give you a directory with a 928 directory with templates in it. So I'm going to try to send you a Dropbox invite now, so you'll have that to work with. That's going to be the end of this training video, and that should get you through all of the 8 screeners. There are other parts of the daily work, but these 8 screeners are probably the most important. So you now will have everything that you should need to be able to do this most important part, which consists of the 8 screeners. So I'm going to end this video now.